in Scottish.
Yeah,
Yeah.
please.
I do quality. I do quantity of questions. Kate does quality.
Okay.
So I'll ask loads of them. Kate will ask the good ones.
Okay. Great.
We'll see.
Okay.
So we'll just get started then. I think
Yep.
everyone feels comfortable. What is Free Ranger Canoes?
Well, Free Ranger Canoes started out as a canoe building company, wooden canoes. And since we've started that in 2016, we added canoe instruction. So I've become an instructor, canoeist, and we're also doing a lot of workshops. So people can build their own canoe with us. Next to that, we do canoe trips, and we do also paddle making workshops.
Well
So
said.
it's kind of the whole package.
It's the whole canoe
Yeah.
lifestyle.
Yeah.
And how did you get into it? Were you always in canoes? Because you've got your previous job couldn't be any more different.
Yes and no. I've always been an outdoors man doing a lot of outdoor activities, and we did have a canoe at home. So I already canoed with my dad. Admittedly, not that much, but there always was a canoe. And I started kayaking, sea kayaking, when I was like between 25 and 30. So I did a lot of kayaking, whitewater kayaking. And then I got 2 daughters and finally a son. And when he was like 4 or 5, he was like, "Dad, I want to go with you." So he started kayaking with me. And when he was 6, 7, he said, "I want to go with you on these trips."
Yeah.
But I found it a bit tricky to take him along just in a separate kayak. So we decided to build a canoe. So we built our first stitch and glue canoe. That's with plywood, so it's a bit more rudimentary than the strip built canoes we do now. We built that one and started paddling it. We both loved it. And then it was a bit too heavy, and like all first things you build, it's not your best build.
Yeah, of course.
And then we built it a strip canoe, like the ones we do now. And that was in 2010, 2012, I think. And one thing led to another. I built a canoe for a friend, and then for a friend of a friend.
Yeah.
And
That's kind of how it usually starts off, isn't
Yeah.
it? Like
Yeah.
friends and family are the ones to support you first.
yeah, absolutely. And then you mentioned my previous occupation. I was in communications and photography, and got a bit frustrated at that time to always have to water down concepts you make for
Right.
clients. And I was like, how would it be to launch my own product and just market it and brand it exactly as I would do it? So I
No
was-
corner cutting, exactly
No.
as you wanted it.
that's
Your
it.
choices.
Yeah.
Nobody else telling you it's a great idea, but we can't do it because of budget or because of X or because of Y.
It's
Just you.
it's a wonderful idea, but
Yeah,
that's
just
that's
the but.
that's the thing you always hear. So no buts this time.
Good.
So we started on social media, Instagram, Facebook, build a website, doing good photography. I mean, that was
Always
my
helps.
business. Yeah. And well, it turned out quite well. So and it's been, I think my main occupation for the last 6, 7 years. Yeah.
Yeah. And how important do you think that photography marketing background was to making this your main occupation? Did you pull a lot from that?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
I think so, because you can be a very good craftsman and everything and be extremely good in your trade, but if you can't get it to your audience,
Communicate it.
to your customers, it's useless.
Yeah, if you can't show the world, you're just a guy in a shed.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and I am a guy in a shed, but
But you're also able to show the world.
the world knows about it.
Yeah, exactly.
My shed.
Exactly. And is it mainly Instagram you're using for all your marketing? How do you find that?
Yes, well, that's quite interesting. I'm not a social media wizard, but I'm on Facebook, Instagram, and then just traditional website. And the Instagram is worldwide.
Yeah.
If I look at my audience, it's mainly Canada
Oh, really?
First Canada, United States second, and then Belgium and the Netherlands. And it gives you a lot of visibility, but I don't think I have ever gotten a client from Instagram.
Okay.
Ah, okay.
Interesting.
Yeah.
That's interesting. So although loads of people are interacting,
Yeah,
looking
yeah.
looking at your page, liking it.
Yeah.
But they might
Exactly. Never
go
convert
onto your
to sale.
Instagram to your website, no? Is that
That's possible. That's
Yeah.
possible. But I always ask clients, new clients, where did you get me?
It's a
and
good
they
question
always
to
said,
ask.
Googled it.
Google? Okay.
Yeah.
Right, okay.
So most of them come through my website. Now, there is a one thing that my clients are between 40 and 60. So it's possible it's an age question.
It's a net
So,
demographic.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
I think that demographic just is just still traditionally focused on websites.
Yeah, just
Yeah.
Google it.
Yeah.
Just finding it. Yeah. That's interesting, isn't it? Because everyone else we speak to is maybe operating in a younger demographic
Yeah.
and almost entirely through Instagram. Almost everyone's like, yeah, I got all my custom through Instagram,
Yeah.
or even corporate clients find them through Instagram, or
yeah.
so. Yeah, I wonder if it is just a demographic.
So, do they
thing.
find you? Do you have a YouTube?
I did have a YouTube channel, but I found
A lot of work.
too laborious.
Yeah.
huge amount of
Yeah,
work?
yeah. So since I'm a photographer by trade, it's for me it's very easy to make the photos.
Yeah, rather than a video.
But
Yeah, and all the additional time that takes.
yeah. And the thing is, if I do it, I want to do it good. And I have friends and colleagues who just do it on the side, and it always looks good, but I can't get myself to it. So if I film, I have to make an A roll, I have to make a B roll, I have to make sure the synchronization is good. It has to be well edited, and
Just take too much time.
It takes too much of my time.
It's it almost holds you back having such a good expertise in that previously. Because if you didn't have that expertise, you would just be like, "Yep, I'm just going to go and shoot a video and it'll be fine."
Yeah.
But because you've got that, it's
Yeah.
almost starting to hold
Yeah.
you back, isn't
Yeah,
it?
yeah,
There's a very fine level between being good at it and being too good at it that it's actually starting to hold you back.
Yes, but I interestingly, I had a conversation with a colleague of mine, a photographer, fashion photographer, and he said I pushed it back so long, and now my main income comes from shooting videos with my iPhone.
No way.
Yeah, and he's a bit older than I. He's 56, and he said it took me very long just to give into it.
Yeah.
And he said,
And now that's his main thing.
yeah,
Wow.
yeah,
Wow.
yeah.
And what is it he shoots videos of?
Yeah, just the models and it apparently
Stuff
everything has to be moving image nowadays.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah,
it
picture's
does.
not good enough anymore, is
yeah,
it?
It's a
yeah.
shame.
And so he's having a shooting for a magazine or a website, don't know, stills, and then they always ask additional moving images, and they want it
No.
now.
Yeah, don't want to have to wait to
no,
edit it or
no,
whatever.
not within 2 weeks when
yeah.
everything's nicely edited. No, now with the iPhone or
So he just takes it with the iPhone, WhatsApp them over, and
Yep.
that's it done. Simple as that.
yeah.
Maybe we're overcomplicating all of this. Maybe it is as simple as that.
I think so, you know.
So you talk about your clients as well. You've got, so we look at you as someone who builds canoes.
Yes.
But you don't just build canoes to sell, do you? The majority of from your edition 5 interview, the majority of your income comes from the workshop side
Yes.
of things, doesn't it? You want
Yes.
to talk to us a little bit how that
Yes.
all works?
Yeah. So, well, it's very simple. We start with a log. We cut the log. We rip the strips. So it's basically the entire process of building a wood strip canoe.
Wow.
So you're not buying the wood strips in, you're stripping
No.
it all yourself
Yeah.
from
Yeah.
absolutely ground up.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. And so I guide my clients through the process. And with one client, it might be a bit more intensive. With others, it's more from a distance. I have a client now. He's a carpenter, so he knows his trade.
Yeah.
And I just tell him, the seats have to be here, and he makes the seats.
Wow.
with Mortis and Tina. And I mean, he knows how it works, so it would be a bit annoying to him if I start explaining how he has to do that. With other people, I really help them.
Yeah. So can people come in with no experience and still
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And
everyone can leave here with a perfectly good canoe. And the good thing is that if you don't have experience in woodworking and you don't have experience with using epoxy and making composites, you still build the entire canoe on your own, but the end result will be a professionally built canoe.
Yeah.
Nice.
And as I said, our first canoe, he was too heavy. There were problems with the epoxy, and I mean, the first time is really trying. The second two and the third too, but it's a good friend of mine once said, "It's not because you build a canoe that you're a boat builder." So it takes time and experience. But
so talk a little bit more about how that. So you get your log in, you're stripping it down into what's that? 10 mil, 1 centimeter strips?
No, so the strips are 18 by 6 millimeters, and they are routed bead and cove, so that they fit nicely together.
Ah, okay, so they're not just flat edge.
They're not square, no, because then you have to make a running bevel, and that's very, very difficult. Yeah. So thanks to the bead and cove, they just fit in whatever angle you put them. Yeah. So the first thing we do is build the entire canoe in wood. Mm-hmm. Once that's done, it gets planed, sanded, and then he gets a layer of epoxy and glass fabric over it.
Is that just like a big mat of glass fiber, like a big carpet of it?
No. It's a fabric, huh? It's really fabric. So it's woven.
Wow.
Okay.
Yeah. 160 grams, and so it's together with the epoxy, it makes a composite, so it becomes a new material really that sticks to the wood. Same thing we do on the inside,
right? And
that makes for an extremely stiff and strong construction. So it's called soft core construction. So you got a soft core with 2 layers of glass fabric and epoxy against it, and it works like, for instance, reinforced concrete. It's the same thing. So the weaponing in concrete and this it's the same. So, but because you got these 2 layers of glass and epoxy against the inside and outside, it doesn't move. So it's very stiff, which makes for a very, very, very efficient canoe. So you don't lose any strength you put into the paddling into the boat. It's like
a performance thing.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Because I noticed, especially the canoe that's up the back, and Kate with some pictures, you've not got any additional ribbing in it, have you? It's just the bodywork is the structure.
Yeah, because the glass fiber and the epoxy is the reinforcement.
Yeah.
So if you see wooden canoes with ribs in it, they're wood canvas canoes.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
Right.
So that's completely different building method, but they don't have the reinforcements of the glass fiber and epoxy. Yeah.
And is that the way that you always wanted to make it? Like, I know you made a more rudimentary one to start with, but had you decided that this is the way that you wanted to make them, or did you stumble across that?
No. It's a proven building method.
It's just the best way to make them.
I didn't invent this. For
No. Yeah.
No.
And that's the way that you wanted to pursue it.
Yeah. Yes. I think there is a good balance in wood strip canoes between performance, strength, and weight.
Yeah.
I mean, those are very important things in canoes.
Yeah.
To be able to carry them. So they're very light. The small one here is like 15, 16 kilos.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
And I mean, you say the small one. What's that? 8 foot?
That's a 4 meter freestyle canoe. So it's a small one, but a regular tandem canoe, 16 foot, weighs about 25 kilos.
Wow.
Yeah. So if you compare that with other building materials, they're at the top level, top end.
Yeah.
They're there with Kevlar.
Right. So they are But it's kind of interesting, isn't it? Because although, wood strip, and although this is a, as you say, very stiff, the performance-wise is right up there, they do have this beautiful traditional look to them as well, don't they? Like the actual laying up of the wood.
Yeah.
Surely that can't be any different from traditional wood building prior to having the glass fibre reinforcement.
Yeah. But this because a lot of canoeists think that the wood canvas canoe was there first,
Right.
because it's very traditional looking.
Yeah.
But basically, effectively, the wood strip construction has been developed in the mid 19th century by builders in Peterborough, in Canada.
Okay.
Yeah. So you had the birch bark canoes
Yep.
first, and then you got a lot of European settlers there who started building wood strip canoes or wooden canoes because there wasn't enough birch bark left. But because it was really an industry in Canada. I mean, the Canada has been discovered with canoes, and all the fur and all the goods coming from the backcountry came with canoes.
Yeah, it kind of feels like when you think Canada or when you think canoes, they're kind of synonymous.
Absolutely.
Like any tourist material that you see from Canada, it's either the CN Tower or it's someone in a canoe.
Yeah,
isn't it?
absolutely.
That's all it is.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
They even have a National Canoe Day.
Really?
Really?
Wow.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's cool.
So they moved over to the wood strip canoes, but
Yeah.
obviously that wouldn't have been with the glass fibre and stuff at the time. So.
No, it was bits. Well, it developed. The Russian, for instance, he built canoes with strips in the
In the opposite plane.
opposite plane.
Yeah.
Looks nice, but wasn't very efficient.
It doesn't feel like it would.
No.
Yeah, because you're
Yeah.
going against the grain, aren't you?
And of course, Europeans were used to building boats with the lap strake method, so wider planks. So they did that too, and then less
It's not
wide.
too different, is it?
No,
Like when you think about, I think about when we went to see some of the ships in the Norway Folk Museum when we were staying there. It's not too different. Just bigger planks.
yeah,
Right,
but
different shape.
it's also, I think, a bit of logical thinking. I mean, how do you approach this?
How do you make a small moat?
Yeah.
Smaller
Well,
than a big one.
the biggest problem is how do you make it waterproof?
Yeah.
And of course, with the epoxy and the glass fiber, that's easy. But in those days, it was more daunting to make a boat
Yeah.
waterproof. I mean,
Yeah.
still now, if you have a wooden boat and you get it out of the water for winter or for repairs, and you get it back into the water, it's leaking. So it needs to.
Yeah, because
swell
it used to be the swell that would make it watertight, isn't it?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Remember reading something about that.
Yeah.
So what sort of time scale if someone's coming in to do a workshop with you?
10 days.
10
10
days.
days.
10 days. Done.
10 days from log to... That's
Absolutely.
quite impressive, isn't it?
Yeah.
How long's a day?
Yeah.
As long as it needs
7,
to
8
be.
hours.
Yeah.
Wow.
Intense course.
Yeah, that,
Yeah. For some people it is. For some, because obviously it's handwork. It's physical labor, and if you're used sitting behind a desk, it might. Yeah, it's tiresome. Yeah.
And that's one-on-one, isn't it? That's you and them one-on-one.
Yes,
Do you do
yeah.
groups? How does that all work?
I have done groups, but the problem is that, well, then there is a finished canoe.
Who's going to buy it?
One finished canoe. Can't cut it in half.
No. So I still do groups, but then it has to be friends or family that
Right.
decide in advance
Beforehand, yeah.
beforehand.
Right. So if they booked 3 or 4...
No problem. Yeah, of
yeah,
course.
but they need to sort that
Yeah,
out.
yeah,
It's not you or...
Yeah.
Aye.
Yeah.
So how has that allowed you to keep doing this full time, doing those? Do you think you'd still be doing this if it wasn't for doing the courses? Because the courses seems like that's your main earner over and
Absolutely.
above just
Yeah,
making.
yeah. I think the courses are like 70-80% of the canoes built here. Yeah, and the rest I do on commission. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And where are people coming from for that? All over the world, flying in to meet you?
Not all over the world.
Yet.
Although I did have a couple of years ago a Korean
Oh, wow.
client. Yeah.
Nice.
He flew from Seoul to Schiphol. I picked him up there. He stayed here for 10 days. I dropped him off again. Didn't see anything else.
Wow.
Yeah, he slept in a teepee in my garden.
No way, really?
Yeah,
Wow.
That's
So they
amazing.
really are coming for the whole experience.
Yes,
And
yeah.
they're actually buying
Yeah.
10 days of
No.
your expertise.
yeah. But I'm not doing the camping anymore.
Right.
Yeah.
That's that. But I have a lot of UK clients that have 3 or 4 this year. Switzerland, a lot of Dutch people. Netherlands.
Yep.
Netherlands is half my turnover, I think.
Right.
Yeah, and then Belgium's the occasional German. So the surrounding countries, and I've had 2 Italians too.
Nice.
Yeah,
Where do they take their canoe back with them?
yeah, all of them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
I can't imagine I'd want to leave it.
Yeah.
No.
I'd work a way out to get it back, you know.
yeah, yeah.
So one of the things coming here I was kind of interested in is like why here? Why Olman? Because it seems pretty landlocked. There's not a lot to canoe around here by the looks of things. But then actually when you describe it there, it's really easy to get to from like everywhere in Europe.
Yes, yeah. Well, Belgium is central, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. But it's also true. We do have to drive a bit to get to decent rivers.
Yeah.
Nice river, but not too far. I mean, there is the Meuse River at 50 kilometers. Very nice river. There are 2 smaller rivers in half an hour's drive. There are
Right.
some pretty lakes here. I do my canoeing lessons here on local lakes. It's 15 minutes.
Okay.
But if you look at doing canoe trekking and then longer trips, it's more the north of France, Germany, and the south of Belgium we prefer. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. So that's a bit longer.
And have you ever done the whole come build your own canoe and then go and do a trip with people? Is that something you facilitate? Like
Yeah, of course.
Yeah?
Yeah.
So you'll then go and do a trip in something they've just built.
Yeah.
Is there a curing time at all, or is it as soon as it's out? Because it goes into a mould, doesn't it? It goes into a mould, like a negative, once you've glass fibered it all. Your canoe?
No,
It
no,
looked,
no.
Oh, it looked like you had a mould sat at the side there.
Yes, but that's for a composite canoe.
Right, that's
It's
for some.
different,
That's a
yeah.
different thing. Okay.
Yeah. So it's built upside down
Yep.
on stations. Kind
Yep.
of a mold. It's just
Ribs.
yeah. And once the outside is covered with the plexiglass fabric, he's strong enough so he comes off the mold, and we continue with the inside. Yeah.
Nice.
So
how-
and once he the inside is done, he has his structural strength.
Yeah.
so-
Okay.
If that's not done, you have to be careful, really careful with it.
Yeah.
But once the both sides are done with epoxy, it's
It's good to go.
yeah.
So after you've epoxied it, how quick can you get it in the river? Pretty much straight away, let it dry.
Yeah, because the epoxy is not the final step. So
Right, okay.
the epoxy gets sanded, and then it gets varnished twice or three
Right,
times with
okay.
a good 2-component polyurethane varnish.
And that seals it all in.
Yeah. But also because the epoxy is very, very prone to damaging by UV.
Okay.
So it doesn't stand any UV. So you need a very good UV blocker to cover it. Yeah, and it gives also. The varnish is the finishing touch. It gives this.
That's the shine.
Yeah,
It
the
really brings it to
brilliance
life.
to the wood.
Yeah.
So it's the enrichment of the wood. Huh?
Yeah. That's brilliant, isn't it? So somebody could come here with you, spend X. How much is that course? If you don't mind me asking, to come and build a canoe. Does
The
it
course
depend?
is €700.
Oh wow, okay.
Yeah, so €700, and then you buy the canoe with a 10% discount
Nice.
on the price when you. Yeah,
Right. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, and that would cover all your material and
Yeah.
etc.
Yeah.
So 700. It's not a lot of money to come and learn how
no,
to do.
no, I don't think so.
That's brilliant.
It's basically a bit too cheap, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then from there, you have your own canoe. And do these canoes have a lifespan at all on them, or are they as long as you take care of them?
I hope they're heirloom.
Nice.
Yeah,
And is that
it
something
has
you
to
set
go
out?
from generation to generation. Yeah.
especially if you've built it yourself. You know, it comes with a story.
Absolutely.
You
And
gotta look after it. Haven't you?
I mean, it's a kind of a vessel of memories.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, 100%.
I
I
like
mean,
that.
the things I did with my son in that specific canoe. I mean, we're not gonna sell it off.
No, no.
There are too many memories attached to
Yeah.
that canoe. Yeah, yeah. He wouldn't let me.
No,
No.
no.
It's his now. Is it?
It is quite incredible though that you can come and do, like, so we obviously speak to a lot of makers, and yes, you can make their stuff, but to actually be able to come here and learn directly from you and build the canoe from a log,
Yeah.
you know, not even from a bunch of strip wood,
No,
from
no,
a
no.
log,
Yeah.
and then I think that's quite a special thing. I think like marketability, that's phenomenal. You know, people being able to do that, and for €700, I think that's a bit
Yeah,
cheap.
but then you don't have the canoe. Eh? It's
Yeah,
ju-
yeah,
it's
yeah,
just
you
the
need to buy
building
the canoe
course.
after, yeah.
Yeah, but I do have clients that come here, build the canoe, do the course, and then they stay at a local bed and breakfast, and he does better business than that.
Yeah.
Aye.
He's selling the bar, he's
Yeah,
selling the
yeah,
breakfast.
yeah,
Yeah, quite.
Yeah.
So then, have you ever had anyone come back with like the stories of the canoes, and what is that sort of community? I'm always interested in, you know, Wilco yesterday, the bike building community that I kind of know a bit about, or like the ceramics community. Some areas within the makers we represent have huge communities where they're really supportive and they all talk. Some that just doesn't exist. What about canoe building? Is that sort of a community, or are you?
Well, not really the building, but there is a very strong canoeist or canoeing community.
Right.
Yeah. And obviously with the clients I have, they come back to take lessons, to make trips.
Nice.
So we stay in touch, yeah. But
Yeah.
there is a very strong wooden canoe community.
Okay.
Ah, okay.
Yes.
Like a niche within the canoe
Yeah,
community.
yeah, it's for the traditionalists.
right.
And we're just on the edge of this because the traditionalists don't consider these wooden canoes as traditional.
Right. Okay. So they would be the non-epoxy, just wood.
The wood canvas, but we're tolerated.
Right. Okay.
Okay.
You've been let in.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And what about the trips that surround that? They must be, like you mentioned it yourself, like memory building. The things the places that a canoe must be able to get you to. Like we stayed in Norway for a while studying, and I went for 3-4 days with Ammon,
Your friend.
and we went out canoeing and fishing and stuff, and it's a core memory. Do you know, that's something I'll never ever forget. You must be able to build fantastic relations
Yeah.
with these clients.
Yeah, but the very interesting thing with canoeing is that you see the world on a completely different level.
Explain that.
Yeah, it's just, first of all, sitting on the water, and it's different than a sailboat because you're really actually sitting on the water.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, you're at water level.
Yeah.
So that's very nice. You come, or you're able to come or go to places you just can't go by foot. Also, places that are pretty urban. For instance, we did a trip a couple of weeks ago with clients to an area called the Biesbos in the Netherlands. It's between Rotterdam, Antwerp, the two biggest ports in
Big industrial areas.
in Europe.
Yeah.
And you're there for 3 days, a trip, 3 days, surrounded by nature. You don't see anything else. Well,
No way.
in the far distance, you see one off and on an electricity central plant.
Yeah.
But you're just completely immersed in nature in one of the most populated areas of Europe.
Wow.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
Don't expect
And
that.
you see sea eagles, you see all kinds of bird life, you see beavers, you see.
Yeah.
So that's very nice in a region as this, that you can actually get into nature and really get into it.
Especially between two cities as big as
Yeah.
that.
Yeah,
Or two, I mean,
Yeah.
yes, they are cities, but they're industrial cities.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
That's fantastic.
Yeah. And then, of course, being on the water making your food on an open fire, sleeping in open air or in a tent. It's just
The experience.
It's good for you, innit?
Yeah,
It is good for
yeah.
you.
I mean, that's not different than hiking or bikepacking or rock climbing or any of the other activities I like to do.
Yeah.
But it's the same with canoeing. One plus I think with canoeing is that you can travel very comfortably. So we take chairs, we have a fire pit, we have a cooler with us, we have beer with us.
Yeah.
And if you're backpacking, it's just all
couldn't
very,
carry all
very,
that.
very, very basic with dry food. So
Yeah.
it's the total experience, the camping, the trekking is in a canoe is really special. Yeah.
So in your canoes, do you know how much weight you can carry within them?
Well, it depends on the model, but the Prospector can carry like 400 or 500 kilos.
Wow,
Wow,
really?
really?
Yeah. You can't really overload it.
Yeah.
I don't think you can put that in a car. Not a small car. Like 600 kilos in a car is it's a lot of weight.
Yeah.
And then what does that do to the characteristics of one of your canoes when you're paddling it though?
Well, that depends on the canoe. We also build a wilderness guide, and that one just paddles better when he's loaded.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Paddles better. And why
Yeah.
do you think that? Is it just because it sits lower in the water?
Yeah,
or
and he
just-
keeps his momentum much better.
yeah. So the weight's actually an advantage.
Yeah.
And then what about you do quite a wide variety of the paddles as well, because that's a workshop in itself, isn't it? You
Absolutely,
can come and
yeah.
do. And what does the paddle workshop look like compared to the canoe workshop?
Well, in the canoe workshop, you have 3 or 4 days of stripping. Then you have an entire day of sanding. Then you have an entire day of fiberglassing. And in the paddle workshops, it's a lot of different techniques. So you start gluing up. You could first cutting the strips to measure, gluing up, shaping it with a plane, with a spoke shave, hand plane, rotary sander, and the shape of a pedal is also extremely important. So it has a very, very particular shape that's quite difficult to make. So it involves a lot more techniques condensed in one day.
Right. Okay.
Yeah.
Just to get it to exactly what it's meant to be. And then there's so many different kinds of paddles that you do as well. Are they all? Does certain paddles suit certain boats, or are they all? How does that look?
Well, we do a lot of different pedals, but basically you have otter tail and beaver tail pedals.
Right.
That's the two main kinds of pedals you have. So in a beaver tail, you have the wide part on the bottom. In an otter tail, you have the wide part on top. Yeah.
Okay.
And so it's really very simple. In the beaver tail, you have the pressure point down. If you put it in the water, you have catch straight away. So you catch the water with this big blade.
Yep.
The otter tail is the other way around. So you have this very narrow tip, and it goes gradually in the water, and the pressure is built up gradually too. So it's much nicer to your to your muscles and your arms. So to pedal longer, an otter tail is probably the better choice.
Right.
Yeah, and then we do have very different kinds of pedals, but it all comes down to these two types.
Right.
So one beaver tail might be a bit less long but wider, and
okay.
yeah.
But the stylization of it is very similar throughout. That's wicked. So, and then when someone comes to do, you talk about your wilderness or the Prospector, is there a specific paddle that suits the boat, or is it just a case of it's a personal preference, or it's a trip style, or?
Yes, it is.
Yeah.
Yes, it is. There is. I mean, if you're gonna run rivers that are shallow, you're gonna want a less long blade. If you want to run rivers with a lot of current, you might want to have a wider blade to really grab the water.
Right. Okay.
So longer style pedals are more for flat water. and shorter wide pedals are more for river running.
Right.
But it's also a personal choice because I personally, even on shallow, fast running rivers, I still use quite a long beaver tail.
Right, okay.
Yeah.
And that's just a preference thing built up over time.
Yeah.
And is it the same for the canoes themselves, just the size, or are they very specific to different things?
Yes. Well, you have some canoes that are all-rounders. Prospector, for instance, you can use anywhere. But we also build models that are more suited for river running. They have more freeboard, so less water be able to come in. They have more volume in bow and stern. So if you run a rapid, it doesn't dive into the water, but keeps afloat.
Right.
So there are some differences there too. Yeah.
And was all this stuff that you learned from being a keen canoe and kayaking person before the business, or is this all stuff that's built up?
Well,
You've always loved it, haven't you?
Yeah, I always loved it, but I wasn't necessarily so interested in the technicalities. So it's something I built up, building canoes, becoming an instructor too, of course, because that's quite a process.
Yeah.
So I learned a lot there, and then of course a lot of reading and talking with people, experts, and so.
Yeah, and I mean, so the reading's a good point. You've got a lot of like old school looking schematics and blueprints and stuff around there. Is there a vast knowledge available for like all your canoes? Are they built off your plans, or are they historic plans, or what does that look like?
It's a mixture. So there are 2 canoes we designed entirely ourselves.
Wow.
Yeah. Then we have 3 or 4 models that are based on drawings done by a guy called Edwin Tapan Edney.
Oh, Jesus. Sorry.
Glad I wasn't there. By Edwin Tapan Edney, who took measurements of birch bark canoes in Canada and the northern states of the US, end 19th, beginning 20th century. And that's a book that's been published by the Smithsonian Institute. And if you know how to read the plans, you can transfer them or extrapolate them to plans that are useful for wood strip building. And then I also have a couple of 2 chestnut models. Chestnut Canoe Company is a notorious canoe building company, Canadian, that built, for instance, the Prospector, which is a legendary canoe. It's,
okay.
Yeah. And then we also built the Wilderness Guide that was designed by Edward Morris. Yeah. Oh no, E.M. White. I'm sorry. Yeah.
I wouldn't have known anyway.
Yeah. White. It's a white canoe. Yeah. That's an American. He was based in Maine.
Right.
Yeah.
And are these historic plans? So it's, these are all historic builders, or are these more modern builders that?
Yeah. Well, the most of the chestnut canoe plans you can purchase.
Right. Okay.
Yeah. But I took the measurements from boats from friends. So I have a couple of friends who have these historic models, and I took the measurements from them. Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah.
And what does your range look like at the moment? How many different canoes do you do?
7 or 8, I guess.
Okay.
Yeah.
And they're all available in one of your courses or to buy?
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah.
All wood strip?
Yes, all wood strip.
Yeah.
But you can also do a stitch and glue course.
And what's the stitch and glue course?
Well, stitch and glue is the building system with plywood.
Right.
So you get these plywood planks that are stitched together with copper wire, and then the seams are glued with epoxy,
right,
and then the wire come out. So and it becomes a canoe like that. Yeah.
And that's the way you built the first one.
The first one, yes,
right.
Yes.
So are they're wider planks,
Yes.
presumably? And
Yes.
Then,
yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. So
yeah.
they'd be more of a
Yeah.
a topological
Yeah,
or a
exactly.
trapezial.
Yeah, yeah.
And
They're pretty good canoes, and they have good paddling properties. They're just not as pleasing to the eye as the wood strips, of course.
yeah. And then, had you always done your courses from the start, or is that an evolution of your business? What's the business evolution look like
Well,
since
we
2016?
started building canoes on commission, and then I got a client who wanted to come and build his canoe with me.
All right, okay.
Let's
Yeah.
go.
So I had this discussion with my then 10-year-old son. I said, "What do you think? He wants to come and build a canoe with me. We're gonna do that." He was like, "Dad, don't do it. Don't do it." He said, "I have the experience with my friends. They don't know the front of to the back end of a screwdriver.
Yeah.
It's useless." But I did it with this guy who's become a friend, really. And he said, "You have to do it. You have to do it. It's gonna be good business." So I did, and
It's been
There
good
we are
business.
now.
yeah, it's been good business. He
Yeah,
was
yeah.
right.
Yeah.
And your workshop self-built for this.
Yes, absolutely.
And
Yeah,
how long has it been here? How long have you had the workshop?
we built it in 2015, I think. 2015. Prior to
Yeah.
that, we used to build canoes in the garage.
Yeah.
That was too small.
Yeah.
All starts in the garage, so doesn't it?
Yes.
And then it just grows and grows and grows.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah.
And do you think this is where you'll always build canoes? You quite happy with this workshop?
Oh, yeah.
It seems to do everything for you. It's
Yes.
a great space.
Yeah. But the good thing is that it doesn't cost anything.
Yeah, we don't have
no
any
no
overheads.
rentals,
Yeah.
and I like to keep it. Not
Yeah,
too
that
big.
that's an important thing, I think, for small independent businesses. It's not how much you can make; it's how low you can operate at.
Yeah.
Because you're always going to have quiet times, aren't you? I mean,
Yeah.
we were talking earlier now about quiet times ahead.
Yes,
just
yes.
purely because of the everything else cost of living
Yeah,
rising.
yeah.
How many of these courses do you think you've done over the years? Loads.
Mm-hmm.
Is it loads?
More than 100. More than
Really?
100. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's
So you've
great.
done considerably more than
Yeah.
100 canoes
Yeah,
in the very short
Yeah,
period of time.
Yeah.
It's quite an impressive turnaround.
Yeah,
yeah.
I think
Yeah.
too. Yeah.
Do you make time to do
Still
that?
astonishing to me.
Do you make time to do that, to sit back and kind of appreciate them as they go out the door, or does it all become a bit of a whirlwind?
yeah. No, yes, I do. I
Yeah.
do.
Good.
I always like to at least see the canoe underwater
Yeah.
as soon as possible. Yeah.
Do you ask them for like pictures or videos
Yeah,
if you can't
yeah,
see it? Yeah.
Just keep a diary of them all.
Yeah.
You must do. You must keep a good log
Yeah,
of
yeah,
them
yeah,
all,
yeah,
the
yeah.
people that
Yeah,
send them.
I do. Yeah.
It must be quite interesting though, isn't it? It's not just because you're not just making something that sits on a shelf. There's a practical, functional amount of this.
Yes.
That it has to sit
Yes.
on the water.
Yeah.
Do you ever get the jitters before it goes underwater?
No, I don't.
You're
no.
really confident.
Yeah,
in what
I'm
you do.
confident. I'm confident, and there is one thing. I once in a while I get paddle makers here, people who
Right.
come make a paddle, and they make it to hang it on the wall.
Okay.
And that's annoying to me.
You don't like that.
I don't like that.
That's not why I
want-
make
Yeah,
them.
no, and for me they're really utilitarian craft. I don't mind scratches and damages. I mean, it's part of the canoe, but a canoe is, or my canoes, in my opinion, they're built to be used.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They have to be on the water as often as possible.
It feels like you've built this workshop and you build the canoes to sort of support adventure. Like it's adventure that kind of drives you by the sounds of
Yes.
things, more so than the fact that you build canoes.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And is that you've always been with your photography? Was it very outdoorsy based photography?
Yeah, I
and-
did a lot of, well, it was a bit divided in two parts. One part was I did a lot of travel guides and
Okay.
editorial projects for Flemish and Dutch publishers. Did some corporate work too, so annual reports, things like that. And then I've been working on a photo ethnography of the Berbers and their habitat in Morocco. I worked for about 15 years in Morocco.
Wow.
Oh.
Yes, publishing 2 books. work.
Wow.
And it was a multidisciplinary approach with anthropologists and architects, and very focused on sustainability, the way these people make use of the land to make a living.
Yeah.
That's cool.
And the interesting thing for me there was that we in Europe, we try to control our environment, whereas they use their environment, let the environment work for them.
Yeah. They just fit in around it, don't
Yeah,
they?
yeah. On a different level, of course, but that was the focus of that work. But that was outdoorsy too. That was in the high Atlas Mountains or in the in pre-Saharan deserty conditions. Yeah.
Yeah.
So you've travelled a lot.
I travel a lot. I tend not to travel anymore.
Yeah, because it's like...
Have you done that now? You feel you've ticked off the travel box?
Yeah, and I also feel. I mean, with the canoeing, I'm a canoeist. I'm a mountain biker. I'm a rock climber, and I'm a hiker. And there is just so much to see within 500 kilometers.
Yeah.
I mean, I like to go to Italy and France, but it doesn't have to be Africa necessarily. Or
There's still a lot on your doorstep.
yeah, that's it, and that's often a thing with people exploring. They're all year long planning this big adventure that will take them for 2 weeks to I don't know where, but for the rest of the years they don't do anything anymore. So I like to do a lot of small adventures, preferably with my children and or clients. But I prefer 2 small adventures a month than 1 big adventure a year.
Yeah.
That's a good way to look at it.
Yeah.
You probably do more adventure time as well.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
over the course of the whole
Yeah.
year.
Yeah, I'm a big fan of Alastair Humphreys, your compatriot, who got this micro adventure idea. I think it's wonderful. It's just amazing.
Go and do lots and lots of little things.
Yeah, little things.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think, I mean, we've obviously been driving around Belgium for a good few days now, and it's the first, other than mountain biking when I was younger, it's the first time I've really done any driving around Europe. Like, just me and Kate, usually it was a van full of us splitting the driving. It's so easy to get anywhere.
It really is.
It's so
absolutely.
easy to get anywhere.
Yeah,
It's fantastic.
Yeah.
Which kind of leads me on to a point. So, how easy is it to get a canoe somewhere, though? So, if you build one for your client, obviously the client that comes and builds it with you, presumably they'd take it away with you. But what about if someone's commissioned one? How far afield have you had to send them? How is that getting them around the place? Because shipping, even for a book's inherently hard.
It's not that expensive to ship them.
Really?
No, I shipped the canoe to Annapolis. That's, I think, Minnesota.
Okay.
That was like 500-600 euros.
Wow.
Yeah, it's a couple of years ago. So
Yeah.
it's probably more expensive now.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
yeah, the most expensive part was that I needed to build the crates with special plywood that was certified
So it could
without
travel over
bacteria
the,
and I don't know what for it was for American customs. But if it's a good destination, I just bring it myself.
Just take it yourself.
You said that in the
Get a hold
book.
out of
Your
it.
daughters wanted to go
Yeah,
to
yeah,
Milan.
that's a good that's a good story, that one. So I got a commission for an Emiel special from an elderly man in Milan,
Okay.
and so he commissioned the canoe, and I told my daughters, who are 23 and 21, I got this commission, and then they said to me, "You're gonna bring it yourself." I said, "I don't know." Yes. They said, "You're gonna bring it yourself. We're going along."
That's amazing.
So I had, I basically spent the canoe in Milan, I think.
Yeah, we're coming along and we're going to spend all your profit, Dad. Yeah.
That was it. So that was really nice with my 2 girls and my wife, of course. And,
Good adventure.
yeah.
It seems like this business has allowed you to build a lot of memories with your family.
Absolutely.
Like over and above just being a business.
Yes.
It's fulfilled that. You
Yeah.
started with your son.
Yeah.
and now you're doing trips with your daughters, even just to deliver a canoe.
Yeah, but the funny thing is, we were at a fly happening, fly fishing.
Yeah.
You're from Scotland, so we had a fly happening here a couple of weeks ago, and I couldn't go because I had a workshop here, and my daughter she did it for me. My eldest daughter,
Oh, nice.
and she sold a canoe.
Oh,
Nice.
wow.
So how
Good
great is
salesperson.
that? Yeah.
Is that one of your goals, to make it a family business?
That would be nice. Yeah. But I mean,
Totally up to them if they want to
it's
do
up to them.
it. Yeah, it's got to be, hasn't it?
Yeah.
Before I forget, who was the company that we were speaking to with Zoe for shipping? It'd be good for Bart to know them. Ebis, EBISS. They're a European and UK company. And Zoe, who does the stone carvings,
Yes.
she deals with them because they'll make the boxes for you.
Okay.
They'll do all the shipping, do all the paperwork. So that might be one. Remind me to send Bart it,
Oh, yeah.
just while
That's
I forget.
interesting.
And if we
Yeah.
don't send you it, do chase us
I
to
do.
remind it.
I will.
Because
Basically, the box just comes to her and she puts the product in it and sends it.
she tells them what size the product is. So you'd
Yeah.
be like, it's a canoe of this length. They'll send the box.
Yeah, because this certified.
It's a
plywood,
certified thing that it is, yeah.
you need to find that. You need
Yeah.
to pay for that.
Yeah,
Whereas
yeah.
they'll have stocks of it. Yeah. So remind me to do that because it feels like that would be
Yeah, that
a
would
really
be
good
great. Yeah.
good one for you.
Yeah.
So, where do you see it going? What's next? Like we've obviously talked about, it would be great if the kids took it on, but that's not it's not a driver. What's next for Free Ranger Canoes?
Don't know.
Just keep
I'm,
on going.
I'm really good. Yeah, keep on going. I'm really good now. Like this.
Yeah?
Yeah, the way it's going. Yeah.
Do you think it's satisfied everything that you walked away from the corporate job for?
Oh yeah, yeah. I'm
Yeah?
not going back to that.
No.
No.
I don't think you could.
No, I couldn't.
No.
Because business is a bit low at this point, and my son said to me, "Why don't you start up your publication agency again?" I was like,
No, it's too stressful.
I can't. I can't.
Yeah.
I can't. But where I'm going, you asked about the mold that's in my shop.
Yeah.
So that's a project I'm working on, and it's an entirely composite canoe.
Okay.
But I'm really, we haven't talked about it, but I'm a bit focused on sustainability, and the thing that has been nagging at me about these wooden canoes is, first of all, the wood comes from Canada.
Right.
So it's Western red cedar coming from Canada. The ash we use for the trim is also American ash, just because it's so nice and white.
Right.
We could use European ash, but that's kind of brownish. It doesn't look so good. So it's a wooden canoe, and it's recyclable to some degree, but it's not really sustainable in the sense of the
Where the wood's-
building products. It's
yeah.
sustainable in the sense that it will last very long.
Right.
So I'm trying to build a composite canoe with sustainable materials. So flax weave.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So, and flax is just an amazing product. It's
And it's the same stuff as like flax seed, isn't it?
yeah. It's like flax for linen, I mean, it's just the fabric. It's grown here in Belgium. It's produced, so the fabric is produced in Belgium.
Nice.
And there is something now like a bio epoxy, which has like 30 or 40% vegetable, plant-based. It's for 30-40% plant-based. So that would be
That'd be a really
That'd
good
be the
step
next
forward.
step.
yeah.
Is that something you're quite passionate about, doing this sustainably as well?
Yes.
Not just from a money-making point of view.
Yes. And that's also why I, for instance, don't do canoe trips in Sweden.
Right.
I mean,
Just driving
just
all the way there.
explore your own region.
Yeah. Keep it
that's
close to
fair.
home.
I mean my own region within like 300 kilometers around my shop. So
That'd be interesting.
yeah.
So that wouldn't be strip based at all. That would just be built in the mold.
Yeah.
And then what does that need? Does that need ribs as well, or is that just
No,
purely the mold?
Yeah. But that's vacuum infusion, and I'm still figuring out how that works.
Yeah.
Yes, you're always learning,
yes,
aren't you?
yes,
That's
yes.
how you're moving forward.
Yeah.
And I mean, you say figuring out, has it all been self-taught?
Yeah.
And
I have the same life motto as Pippi Longstocking.
give it a try.
Yeah, I've never done it, but I'm sure I can do it.
Yeah. And where did you get all the? I mean, we talked about the material that for the Smithsonian, from how, like, what the measurements are, but what about actually getting started? That first one with your. Was it just because you were always in the space that first one with your son was easy, or is it?
Yeah, but the worst thing that can go wrong is that
You didn't try.
it doesn't work. Yeah.
You got a cracking stove to put it in if it doesn't. Yeah.
Too bad.
Yeah.
I mean, who
It's a great
cares?
attitude. Yeah, it's a great attitude.
I mean, it's the wood. Okay, so you try again.
What about your tools? Obviously, you've grown.
Oh
your
yeah,
tools.
yeah. But I've always been kind of a handyman.
So you've
Right, so you've
the
always had a
tools.
background in building
Yeah,
stuff.
yeah. Yeah, and also for the woodworking, I have a very good friend of mine. He's a carpenter, so
Nice.
I learned quite a lot from him.
Well, that's good.
So do you have any formal training in woodworking, or is it just you've
Not
always
at
just
all.
had your hand
Not
on
at
it?
all. Not at all.
And then,
And to be honest, I'm not a woodworker. Huh?
yeah,
I mean, I work with wood, but I always say I know two tricks. I can build a canoe and I can make a paddle, but don't ask me to make a cabinet.
yeah.
It's gonna be useless.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is interesting that though, isn't it? Because yes, although you do work with wood, it's a very specific skills. You would
Yeah.
never use any of these, 18 by 6 mil.
Yeah.
You'd never use that to build a kitchen.
No.
It's not like the wife
Yeah.
can come in and ask you to make a new kitchen.
Yeah, and interestingly, I do have a lot of clients that have a woodworking background,
Right?
that are carpenters or woodworkers, and they can't get their head around this because basically in boat building you don't really measure things.
Oh, okay.
It's more on
Aye.
you look at it because it's difficult to measure. It's all round and hollow, and I mean nothing is straight. And woodworkers, carpenters, they measure everything.
Three times.
Everything has to be level. Everything has to be exactly the right size. And for them, it's kind of a process to let go.
Yeah.
When they're building a canoe, it's like, oh, I have to measure this. No. I always say, just look at it. If it looks good, it'll be good.
Yeah.
I like that.
That's so. Even your man that was coming in building the canoe there, with the carpentry background, all the mortise and tenons, that'll be second nature to him. But actually doing the canoe bodies,
Yeah,
it's a
they
totally
do that
new thing.
much better than I do. Yeah.
But the canoe bodies, that would be a really difficult task for them.
Yeah, because they've never done it. I mean, it's completely
So
new.
unique, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely.
And then what about, Kate mentioned all the tools and stuff here. What was the start-up cost of all this like? Was it massive investment, or did you get away with just nothing?
Yeah, but you can build a canoe with a staple gun,
Really?
a jigsaw. What else would you need? A jigsaw. You would definitely need a jigsaw. You would need something to build to rip the strips.
Yep.
But you can have that done, and then it's just handwork. I mean, you can do it all with hand tools. You don't need.
Don't need anything fancy.
No, you don't need any machines, or it makes life a lot easier, of course.
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
You would need a rotary sander because sanding it by hand would be
But
quite
you
a
could
job.
get away with it if you had to.
Yes,
Just
yes,
suck. Yeah.
yes. I would like to see that. Not take part in it.
Yeah. It is really interesting though, isn't it? Because like canoes are like, I can't remember the wording you used. They're a very utilitarian product, and you do automatically assume that you need massive space, huge tools for it. But it's really simple, isn't it?
Absolutely.
Really
craft.
simple.
Yeah.
It's just time to get it right.
Yeah.
And what about that, getting your eye in? You say, you look down the canoe and you just... Did that take a long time for you to get your eye in, or have you always been someone...
No. It obviously takes the spirit. I mean, to judge something by sight, you have to have seen quite some bad examples.
Yeah. Unfortunately, your own bad examples.
Yeah.
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 It's it seems it's a craft I've never really thought people done.
Yeah, but seeing things on site is true for all tradesmen.
Yeah.
I mean, if you have so much experience building whatever, you just see it on site.
You just see
I
it,
mean,
yeah.
if you have a good car mechanic, he opens the hood of your car and he's like, okay, I've seen it. He sees something I wouldn't see.
Yeah. Yeah.
Or they're just like, oh yes, that's
that's the test that needs replaced. Yeah. I know exactly what you mean.
How many times I've been with I drive a 35-year-old Land Rover with my mechanic, and I'm like, yeah, there's something wrong. So he goes like, oh yeah, I can hear it.
He knows what
it's a timing belt, or it's I don't know what.
And you're just like, how do you know that?
And then he's like, don't you hear it? No.
Yeah.
What? Don't
But
hear
he
it.
knows.
He knows.
Yeah, give him his money and get it fixed.
Yeah, and it's the same thing with this. And it's, I mean, if you know your trade, you'll be able to see and hear and feel things that
other people can't.
Yeah.
And what about, so one thing that's quite interesting is like collaborations and, you know, people working with people. Is that anything you've ever explored? You know, making so for example, Wilco yesterday, he made a bike specifically for Royal Enfield. They approached him about it. Is that anything that you've ever looked at or explored, or because that would kind of be bridging back into that world of the marketing where someone says but.
Yeah.
I haven't done that.
No.
Is it something you'd be open to
Yes, absolutely, of course.
if it was the right customer?
Yeah. I'm just thinking because I might have, but
Yeah.
I've had questions for instance, restaurants at the seaside wanting half canoes to hang on the wall and things
Oh,
like
right,
that.
okay.
Yeah.
You're like, it's not really what I build them for, but
Yeah, it doesn't feel like that would fulfill your need of making a usable canoe.
Yeah.
You better just go
And then,
buy
of
one.
course, they don't want to spend too much money. I mean, if you're building half a canoe and then doing it for not much money and then to have it in a restaurant, I'm like, no, forget
it doesn't
it.
really give you much, does it?
No,
No.
it's true.
It doesn't seem like it's what you set out to do.
Yeah.
And you set out to do this your way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I do make pedals for. There is a disclosure here for a European army.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
Yes.
Different.
You mean paddles for the...
Raft pedals. Big raft pedals. Yeah.
And how come they're still wood? Because it feels like anything military would just
Because it's for an army in a part of Europe that still clings to very traditional
Right, okay.
ways. Yeah.
So they still like them to
They're
be
located in the Central Europe.
So they prefer it to be traditional, and
Yes, and it's built to their specifications. Yeah.
Right. So that's not a you design; it's just you building to their spec.
Yeah.
In business like that, surely that's nice influx of constant
Absolutely.
business. Yeah,
I love that.
keeps things running. Constant. It's that constant paycheck, isn't it?
Well, it's been constant for 3 or 4 years. We built I think 400 or 500 pedals for them.
Wow.
Really?
Yeah. It's always batches of 50 pedals. Yeah,
Nice.
yeah. So I think for the moment they're satisfied.
Yeah.
But they will come back because I'm the only one who does it. So
Yeah. There can't be many other people in Europe that are doing this at all.
No.
So that constant income stream must be nice to just rely back on. I think for a lot of makers, something like that must be really important to have.
Yeah.
Just something that streams in and keeps things rolling.
Yeah.
I think you've got it set up. Like I'm really impressed with the workshop. I think everything that comes out is fab.
Because I found you through Instagram. I was like, through every magazine or publication, I just keep scrolling and scrolling. I was like, oh, that's different.
Yeah.
It just popped up, and
nice.
it's quite.
Yeah.
I was like, Belgium map. There we go.
Yeah.
And then obviously doing the trip, it was like we've got to go and see it for real because it's a different experience, isn't it?
Yeah, it is, and it's. I don't think you appreciate just
Well,
It's strange, isn't it? Because like you stand next to it and it feels like a really delicate thing because they are so thin,
Yes.
but they're so robust.
Yeah. That's really a misconception.
Yeah.
yeah, because
but-
you're scared to touch
Yeah,
things, you know?
there are two misconceptions. One's it must be heavy.
Yeah, absolutely
People,
not.
everyone says when I'm at the fly happening at a fair, people, 1 in 2 people says that must be very heavy, and I'm like, just pick it up, and they're like, woo,
Super light.
yeah. And then the second question is, yeah, but it's very delicate. It's gonna scratch. Yes, of course it's gonna scratch.
Yeah.
It's wood.
Every canoe gets scratches. I mean,
Car's made of metal and it scratches.
yeah, every canoe gets scratches.
Yeah.
But the glass fiber and the epoxy is quite hard.
Yeah.
Yeah, and they're very easy to repair. So if if it gets worse, they're the easiest canoe to repair.
And what does that look like? Is it just a case of cut out, or is it just a case of just go over the
well,
top
so
of? Or?
when there are scratches, you just sand it down a new coat of varnish, and it looks like new. Huh?
Really?
Yeah,
Wow, brilliant.
it's like new. I mean, anyone who has ever sanded down his kitchen table and put a new coat of varnish knows it's like a new table.
Yeah.
But so the same goes for the canoes. If the damages are deeper, so if you go into a very sharp rock,
Yeah.
that will damage a Kevlar canoe, that will damage a fiberglass canoe, that will
Yeah.
damage any canoe, and also a wooden canoe. Is just very easy to repair it, to fill it up, put a new small patch of glass fiber on it,
Yep.
sand it down, varnish it.
Never
Don't-
see it.
Never see it.
That's wicked.
Never see it.
And have you had much come back for repairs with people battering
No,
them? or-
not come back. But
Nice.
I like to stretch things. So I always say to my clients, you can run class 2 rivers with it, but make sure there's enough water. And I tend to run class 3, sometime maybe 4. And
And what is the
I
classifications?
once in a while I crash into the wrong rock. Yeah.
And are the classes just more difficult rivers?
Yes, well, the classification of white water has a lot to do of the difficulty of the passages, but mostly of the visibility of what you can see from your canoe.
Right.
So it can be that you have a drop of a meter, but that's very clear, very visible. That could be class 1.
Okay.
Okay.
But if it's a drop of half a meter with a rock and some twists in it, it could be 2 or 3.
Right. Because it's a more difficult thing to
But
navigate.
in general, you can say that the higher the classification, the rougher it is, and
Yeah.
the more difficult it is to run it decently.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And what about size-wise? Have you ever thought about doing something massive? Like, have you ever thought about not just being a canoe builder,
Absolutely.
being a boat
Absolutely.
builder?
The Canadians, they have these tradition of war canoes.
Oh, okay.
So they're 12-person canoes, even more.
12.
10 meters, 8 to 10 meters. Yeah.
Need a bigger workshop.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And they in Canada they do regattas with it, so races, and and it's a very old tradition. Eh? So I've been contemplating the idea to build one like that, but then build it with a group of friends, and then participating in
that'd be a cool
in a
adventure.
rally or
Competition,
yeah,
that'd
and
be cool.
Yeah, build it,
Yeah.
go over there, compete with
yeah,
it.
yeah. That's been on my mind for years, but you have to get this group of 10 like-minded people
Yeah.
together for
With the time.
yeah. So for 10 days building it, and then you have to train, of course, to do a race.
Feels like it'd be a good documentary, though.
Yeah, absolutely.
It'd be a great documentary, wouldn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. You need a trailer
Yeah.
because I mean, all these canoes you can just put on the rooftop, but
Yeah,
It's not something that big.
no.
Need
But
to be on the roof
that's
of a
on my
house.
mind. Yeah, I would like to do, and I would like to build sailboat.
That's what I was going to say. You could do
Yeah.
a sailboat that way.
Yes.
Yeah. Just keep getting bigger and bigger and
Yeah.
bigger. Bigger and bigger workshop. Just make the workshop get even bigger.
Yeah.
I think I'd like to see a big canoe. Certainly a big sailboat
Yeah.
would be cool. And would you still do it the same way, stripping?
The war canoes you can easily do stripping, and also dinghies and small sailboats you can do with the strip.
And do the strips get bigger, or do you just always keep?
You can make them bigger. I think for the war canoe, for instance, we would have to make them a bit thicker and a bit higher, just to advance the building process.
But then equally, you've not got as tight a shape to get, have you? You're much more.
No, true.
simple
And
shape.
also the fabric for the outside would need to be heavier. Yeah. Just to make
That'd be a good
the
one.
reinforcement a bit stronger. Yeah.
Well, man, we've talked about a lot. We've certainly talked about a lot. Kate, have you got any other questions?
Probably.
Probably. They'll probably all come to us later. I think one of the things I think is most interesting about this is you're not just building it on commission. And one thing I think a lot of makers and people that listen to it can take away from it is that workshop side of things and how that supplements the business. Or, well, I was going to say supplements the business, but actually that is the primary
But
part.
I wouldn't want to do it any different. I can't imagine me being here on my own all day building
Right, okay.
canoe after canoe after canoe.
Yeah.
No, that's not for me. And that's why I'm very happy with I'm doing canoeing courses. I'm guiding canoe trips. I'm building canoes.
You like being
on
social.
commission. Yeah, I like to be among people and well teach.
Yeah. Is that something
I'm a bit of a coach, I think.
Yeah. Is that something you found quite difficult when you walked away from the sort of more corporate job to come and work for yourself?
Yeah, but also the agency was my agency. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I've never worked for anyone else.
Right,
I've
it was
always
your
been
own
I've
agency.
always been independent. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
Right. So it wasn't a massive step.
No.
then? And then bringing the people in to do.
Yeah.
It must be really nice though, getting people in that have flown quite literally from around the world to know exactly what you do. To basically get inside your head for 10 days and work it out. Must be really gratifying for the.
Absolutely, and well, the nice thing is, up till now, I haven't had anyone I really disliked.
That's
I mean,
always good.
a click is better with one person than with another, but I mean, it's always been very agreeable, and well, I've made some very good friends here.
Good.
Yeah, because in 10 days, I mean, there's a lot to talk about.
Quite
Yeah,
intense, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's 10 days just in this
Yeah.
this spot of the world that's totally yours.
Yeah. And when we talked about traveling, I mean, I traveled a lot as a photographer, and my children, they have seen people from all over the world visiting us,
exciting.
and visiting them.
Yeah.
And I always say, I used to go to the world, and now the world comes to me.
That's nice. That's really nice.
Yeah.
That's really nice. And then have you ever gone, I mean, you say you keep in touch with these people, but have you ever then flown out and stayed with them and done canoeing trips with them? And
No,
not
not in
yet.
Morocco. Not in Morocco.
No.
I did some canoeing in America. Yeah.
Nice.
With my friend's son there, in Vermont. That was nice. But I do have people coming here, friends from Austria, and coming here to canoe with us. Yeah,
That's
yeah,
good.
Yeah,
That's good. And what about the future for Free Ranger? Is it something that you could see yourself? I was going to say bringing an apprentice in, but it sounds like your son's really into it as well. And would you bring someone else to work with you, or is it not that kind of
well,
business?
what I really like about this is that it's also when I decide to let it go, I think I can monetize it.
Yeah.
Yeah, because it's a brand.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a brand, and I think certainly with the range and with the knowledge you bring and the workshop side of things you bring, I think that's a good thing to do. And having that commercial knowledge from your previous job must be really
help.
beneficial.
Yeah,
for that.
of course.
Yeah, that's something I think.
You're not having to learn all the business side as well as the craft side,
Yeah.
you know.
Yeah, it's true.
It's quite special.
Yeah, I think.
But on the other hand, I mean, I've had periods last year that I was over my head into canoes, but I can see me building canoes when I'm 68 or 70 and just building 5 canoes a year. I mean, that's a nice steady income.
Yeah.
And it doesn't put too much pressure on.
As you become, I can't remember. White was one of the names you brought up earlier, wasn't it? They were the sort of like the creme de la creme of canoe builders and their old plans. You know, the sort of famous plans. Chestnut, and you know. Could you see yourself becoming one of those names? Is that a goal?
No.
Is that too big a goal?
No, I'm not in it for the fame and fortune. No.
But do you set goals?
I just hope that every one of my customers that takes off with a canoe is happy with it.
That's your goal.
And stays happy with it.
Yeah, stays happy with it's quite important because it's not a one and done product. You know, like you said, like an heirloom product. And I think there's not a lot of people that do heirloom products. I mean, we're lucky. We speak to more and more people that do that. But out with this space, you don't really see a lot of heirloom products anymore.
No, but that's so sad. I mean, we're just consuming and we consume and we throw away. It's just like
you can repair and keep that.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
You don't chuck that in the bin.
It's terrible. I mean, and there are so many good. I mean, you know better than I do. People who make things that are built to last.
Yeah. But out with this space, that's not like commercially. That's not really a thing. Making things built to last. It seems to. It's not that it's not a thing, but it seems to be a dying thing. You know, there is still some companies that do it, and I can think of a few brands, but not lots of them. It's not the norm.
No, but I can see a shift, not necessarily in this space, but for instance in food produce. Yeah, people are becoming more and more aware of buying locally.
Yep.
Oh yeah, big
buying
time.
good produce locally. I mean, here in the UK too, it's still for. Well, not wealthy people, but it's more expensive. But
you buy once, so you buy well and you keep it. It's becoming more of a thing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think certainly men's clothing's gone that way more recently.
Yep.
You know,
shame
you look
about
at
women's clothing. Like, very difficult to find a brand that you want to buy from and to keep it because trends just change so quickly. It's sad.
Yeah.
But.
I mean, I look at the small end of things. You know, Finiston, the guys at Finiston that I buy almost all my clothes from now and then. The higher end, which is actually more in your world, you know, like Filson, Filson clothing and stuff like that. They put a real emphasis into high quality stuff.
Yes, but
no, it's you pay for it.
Filson.
Yeah,
I'm a Carhartt.
I like a good Carhartt workwear because it's cheap and it lasts forever.
Exactly.
Lasts forever.
Yeah.
So, Kate, you've usually got a fantastic question to round things up. Do you want to go for it?
Yeah. What advice would you give your younger self? It's always
have fun, man.
Yeah, have fun.
I mean, I've never done anything in my professional life I didn't really like.
That's
so
lucky.
I love doing the things I do and do the things I love, basically. Yeah.
And that's
it's not always easy. I mean,
No.
At this moment in time with the inflation, it's not easy, but yeah.
You're still having fun and you're enjoying it. And if you didn't enjoy it, you'd be like, stuff it, I'm not doing it anymore. Yeah, good. Yeah.
And how do you remind yourself and how do you ground yourself of that? You know, it would be very easy, you know, with the way things are going cost of living, and we talked about it briefly before, and people having to cancel workshops and stuff and sales taking a dip, but it'd be very easy to be like, I am going to go back to, you know, your previous business, or I'm going to take a couple of little photography contracts on. How do you motivate yourself that, no, I'm going to stick through this?
Yeah. Because it's, first of all, it's fun. When I get into the door here, I'm having fun. Yeah. And on the other hand, I might just, now for the next 3 days, I'm doing a job as an outdoor instructor in the south of Belgium. So that's really something that's very parallel with what I do with my canoeing.
Yep.
But this will be via ferrata and rock climbing. So so that provides for a bit of income, and then.
Yeah, and it's not too different from what you're doing. You're still in that same world, aren't you?
Yeah.
It's still keeping it fun.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, and when he said the same, and you know, everyone says the same.
Yeah.
Just keep it fun.
Yeah.
So if you keep it fun and it brings in money,
Yeah.
great.
There is one thing I heard once on, I think, the Outside podcast, and it was also, I think she was an explorer of kinds, and she says you have to hustle your gig. You have to hustle your gig. So do what you like, and if it doesn't work anymore, just add something to it.
Yeah, until it does work.
Yeah.
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 It's a great. I mean,
Yeah.
we're no different. You know, we started with a book, and then realised that financially you can't just rely on the book. So now we're doing the podcasts, and then we'll do the YouTube, and we'll do.
Just building that brand awareness as well.
Yeah. Yeah.
And there's so many good tools out there to do that.
Absolutely.
There's so many good tools, and there's so many good resources to do it.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
So we've talked for quite a bit. Is there anything that you want to bring up that's interesting to you that we've not covered? Because it is ultimately your podcast.
I think we basically,
Covered
or
it.
more than basically covered everything. Yeah. Yeah.
Well, it's your first podcast, right? So
This is my first podcast.
how did you find it?
Great. But two great people to talk to. So
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah. It's good, isn't it? It's good. Like
yeah.
it's good to just sit down and talk about what you do. Like it is with people that are genuinely interested.
It's not the same as, over the internet,
No,
I
that's true.
or
That's
over
very
email
true.
or
Yeah.
whatever,
Yeah,
actually
absolutely.
getting to sit down and
Yeah.
speak is a different experience that
Yeah,
that
absolutely.
everyone listening and watching can
Yeah.
experience as well.
Yeah, we've had so many people. You should just do it on Zoom. It'll be cheaper. It'll be, and it will be. It'll be cheaper and easy to do, but it never quite flows right.
I personally, if the recording level is not good, I turn it
turn it
off.
off. I'm the same as
Yeah.
you. If it's
I'm-
not really high
Yeah,
quality,
yeah.
you just
I'm a fan of the Daily and This American Life, the podcasts of the Guardian too, for instance.
Yep.
They're so
The outside one you mentioned's good though. Like, I listened to the outside one and specifically Pink Bike, who outside own.
Yeah.
They do a great one.
Yeah,
And if
Outside's
you're
very good.
if you're into that world,
Yeah.
like I, as I say, specifically listening to the Pink Bike one because I used to be fanatic about mountain biking, and it's just like a nice chat with friends.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's great.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
That's what we want. Hope for
Hopefully.
this. Hope for this. So yeah, well, thanks
Yes.
very much for your time.
thanks so much for your time.
Well-
it's been great to be invited into another fantastic makers workshop and see what you do. And I'm actually just astounded as to. I don't want to downplay it as to how simple it is, because it's simple in the fact
Yeah,
that
there's
it's-
nothing wrong with simple.
Yeah, my point exactly.
There's
I'm
nothing
always,
wrong with simple.
I'm always cautious of saying that because it can be seen derogatory, but it's
no,
absolutely not. It's just it's simple, it works,
No.
it's robust.
Absolutely.
And yeah, I think what you've got here is a great thing. I can see it being a really good thing.
Yeah.
Look forward to following your journey for
Yeah.
however long it is.
Maybe one day we'll book in to do a.
Aye, that'd be fun.
Oh, right, yeah.
If I get a big enough garage to hold a canoe in, then we'll book in.
Yeah. Okay,
Right.
now I can say what every guest on a podcast says.
What's that?
Thanks for having me.
Hey, there you are. You've done it.
Yay.
And again, thanks so much for
Yeah.
having us, because ultimately it's your space.
You're
It's your
welcome.
time.
You're most
Brilliant.
welcome. Well,
Thank
you
you.
came here.
Yeah.
Maybe I should pay you a visit in Scotland.
Hey,
Oh yeah,
anytime.
absolutely.
You'll enjoy the fly fishing and you'll enjoy the canoeing up
Yeah.
there. That's for sure.
I just spent 3 days or 4 days with actually the vice president of the British Canoeing Association,
All right.
who is a very dear friend of mine. Spent a couple of days on the Semois River in the south of Belgium, and there will be a return trip to the Spey
Nice.
next year.
Yeah.
So
well,
we-
if you're there,
We're
stop
going to be
in and
running
see
the
us.
Spey. Yeah,
Yeah.
Yeah,
We'll do
let us
that.
know.
Spey's a beautiful river as well.
yeah.
It's stunning.
Yeah.
And do you know what? There's no shortage of stunning rivers. And
Mm-hmm. No, in the
hilltops up
UK,
there, so,
that's,
yeah.
and Scotland.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, we've got a good gig.
Yeah,
We've
we do.
definitely got a good gig.
So
So,
do come visit.
yeah, come visit. We'll make time for it. Brilliant.
Great. So, and you're a mountain biker?
Yeah, it was. I've not done it for a wee while now, but
Because what I also would like to do is do a bikepacking trip along some of the Scottish bothies.
the bothies are good. Do you know I done a trip in November in lockdown?
Coldest part.
Yeah, with a friend, no training. We just jumped on the gravel bikes and we done the Badger Divide, which is from Inverness to Glasgow.
Okay.
And it's all the old drover and sheep running roads.
Yeah.
It
Wow.
was amazing.
Yeah.
There was a point where we were coming through Rannoch Moor and
That's quite...
maybe 50, 60 thick herd of red deer.
Wow.
And you just hear the thump, the rumble.
galloping, yeah.
And as you turn around and just herds of deer. It was like something out of a movie. It was phenomenal. And the bothy thing, and do you know, anytime we've stayed at a bothy, or I've not done loads of it. I'd always like to do more of it, like anyone always would. But it's phenomenal. It's always good people. It's always a good laugh.
Yeah.
There's a fire on and there's food. And you know, what more do you need? But the Badger Divide was
Okay.
wicked.
But that's quite a distance, eh? Inverness, Glasgow.
320 kilometres. We done it in two days.
It's part you text me and says I can't feel my feet.
Yeah. I was like, I can't feel
And
Yeah,
remember-
but it's never fun when you're doing it.
No.
No. It's not fun when you're doing it. It's afterwards.
Well, I made a bit of a bigger mistake than just not being able to feel my feet, didn't I? Because I went out a quick ride to test the bike the day before and it was snowing where we are, and so I put my shoes in front of the fire before we left.
Silly
And
Like
mistake.
an hour before we left, they melted. Totally melted.
You had to
I
run out
was
and
like,
get some more.
I've got a train in an hour. So I ran into Glasgow, got in the car, very fortunately never got any speeding tickets, went into Glasgow.
I'm pretty sure you went in your slippers.
Yeah, I went in my slippers, got like full bike kit in the car, got the only set of shoes they had in my size, which of course were Giro full summer shoes. Oh man.
Oh, terrible.
It was bad. It was bad. But do you know what? As a trip, it was fantastic. And actually I was speaking to Simon, because he's been away, he works on ships and stuff, so he's been away and we've not really kept great contact over the last maybe year. And we were talking about it just the other day. We're like, well, we'll just book something. Don't do any training for it. Just bloody book it again.
Just
see
do
what
it.
happens. Yeah. And do you know what? It was
Figure it out
amazing.
later.
Yeah.
It was amazing.
Well, if you're both like that, it's no problem.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly. If we're both just go and do it, it was amazing. And yeah, I'd like to do more of it. We've just been so busy, but like you say, you better just do
need
loads
to
of little
make time.
micro adventures.
Yeah,
So,
that's it. I do it with my son. I mean, he's 17 now. He doesn't want to go away with his dad for 2 weeks.
Yeah.
But we have an adventure every school holiday.
Nice.
It's hiking, kayaking, pack rafting, canoeing.
Sounds fun.
He's not into rock climbing, unfortunately.
No.
Do that with my daughter.
Well, there you go. You got someone else. If she's not taking you shopping in Milan.
Oh, I'd love to go shopping too.
Yeah.
If it's with them, it's okay for me.
That's good. That's brilliant.
Yeah.
Wicked.
Okay.
Right, let's wrap her up at that, Kate.
Yeah.
And again, thanks so much for your time.